the categories within the Power Teacher Pro gradebook. So let's dive right in. So for your course, you have a plan of how you want to um, grade your students for that particular class. If I look at this particular course syllabus, the grades are divvied up into different categories that are in addition that are um, weighted or count differently towards the final grade. So that's one type of grade. You can also do points, which it tallies up all the points that the student earned, and then all the points that were possible, and then it converts it to a percentage of how many points were earned out of the possible points. That's another way of grading. Most of teachers will use category grading, and just because it's categories doesn't mean that you cannot use points. The categories are just um, weighing how much of those points are going to count towards the final grades. So within the weighing, yes, power the part of the calculation is going to convert. If you did a homework assignment 10 out of 10, it's going to convert that to a percentage, and really do some calculations to get 30% of that to apply to the final grade. So you can still use points and have categories, but total points is just looking at the points only and adding up the points possible and adding up the points earned and taking those points possible out of the points. Those points earned out of the points possible and making a percentage of that. Okay, so that's the most simple way, the total points. Uh, but let's talk about the most common, which is the category, and we'll go through and set up the categories based on this particular syllabus, which has 30% counting of the final grade being homework, 15 formative assessments and participation, 30% summative assessments, and 25% final exam grades. You will notice that the grade categories, if I add all of these up, they should be 100%. And you need to make sure that it's 100%. And however you divvy it up, it all has to equal 100% so that the grade is accurate. Okay, let's dive right into the categories. So here, to access the categories, we're going to go to grading. And of course, you want to make sure you're in the class. And categories kind of apply to all classes, right? So you don't have to create categories for each one of your classes. Okay, so let's go to categories. And so currently, this is what we have as far as categories. Um, these, I can tell you, these are going to show for everybody because these are district courses, district categories that we have created within Power School, and they're the most common that are used. Quizzes, tests, classwork and homework, participation, and final exam. Prior to doing this video, I created formative assessments and summative assessments. Okay, so those categories are here. You can inactivate some of these categories if you don't want to see them. So kind of moving quick here, sorry about that. So for instance, yes, I went into edit here and did inactive. Okay, and so that is not going to show up as an active category. With And this is going to help maybe not confuse you, right? With the categories. If you want to see the categories, then you can that are hidden, then you can unhide them, and you'll see. Okay, you can change the order of these. Hi, this is Sam Nelson, your Power School instructor for St. Pius X Catholic High School. This session, we will discuss Power Teacher Pro gradebook categories, which includes how to create a new category, what out of the box categories are available, and we call those district categories, and how to manage your categories. Okay, so let's dive right on in. So, of course, for your class, I'm have this generic syllabus here. You have a plan on how the grades for your course will be determined, and the most common type of grading is weighting. So that would include like homework being 30% of the final grade. We want the summative assessments to be 30% of the final grade because it has three tests in it. But we still want the final exam to have a little bit more weight than those three tests altogether. So we made that 25%. This is an example of weights. And in Power School, it's called categories, and we have the different categories, and then we assign the weights, right? So there's another type of grading, and I'm going to refer to Power School's help um, function within Power School, and then of course we know we can get to this by the question mark here. So within grade calculation types, there's also total points where, I have, you know, all the assignments listed, and some of the assignments are 10 points. Some of the assignments are 100 points. Some of the assignments are 150. Um, and of course, you know, for grading or calculating total points, we would add all those possible points up, and then we would add all the points that the student earned. And so it would we would then take the grades to be the final grade to be the points earned out of the points possible to create a percentage, which is the student received, you know, this percentage of points out of the total points possible. Okay, that's a real straightforward and easy grading within Power School. All you have to do is create the assignments, indicate how many points each assignment will be, and total points. That is, very easy to set up. It is also easy to set up the categories, but we just have to think about and consider a few things. First off, with the categories, we have to make sure that each category adds up to 100%, because we want to cover the percentage 100% of the final grade, we want to make sure we're assigning all of that grade to a category. Okay, so make sure that if you have 5 categories, just make sure that, it's 100% once you have these assignments and their weights divvied out. Okay, so within Power Teacher Pro, like I said, there's some district or default out of the box categories, and those will be notated by DC at the end of them. Those is just a district category. That's what that means. If you want to use these, you're more than welcome to use these. If not, you can create your own. Okay, so let's say I'm looking at the district categories. I do not see a category that I want to use, or the naming convention, I want it to be a little bit different. Well, you would create a new category. To do this, we would come here to the top uh, header row and create a new category. Okay, so once we open the category, it's going to ask us, you know, some information in order to create this category. So first off, I want it to be applied to these classes um, because I'm going to create a formative assessment category, and that's what I want to name it. But I don't want it to be used within the health and wellness, and that's totally fine. Okay, and keep in mind, you don't necessarily have to change you can create a system of categories that includes all your classes. But sometimes you may have to specify, based on how you're trying to accomplish the grading, and change and have different categories for different classes. It's all up to you. Okay, so I've selected these classes. I'm going to name it formative assessments. Okay. You can assign a color to it, and the color is just going to help you in the grade book know what category it is. And so let's just do green. We want to have this active, and you can put a description, but you're not required to put a description. Now, for the category, for every assignment in that category, you can have default settings for when you create the assignment and publish the assignment. When you create the assignment, you can say, I want it to publish immediately, or you can change it to days before the due date, however many days, or on the due date, or, never. Um, Also, the scores, once you go back into the assignment and put scores in, you can choose whether or not the scores are published right away. If this is checked, as soon as your scores are published, um, or you enter the scores in PowerSchool and save the scores, they are going to be visible to the student. You can uncheck this, and every assignment that you create is going to default to do not publish the scores. But you have to remember to go back in to publish the scores when you're ready for the kids to see those scores. Additionally, you can set, for the category, whether or not you want it to be points or percentages. Um, for that category. And again, these are just defaults to help you whenever you're creating assignments for these, is going to pull in those defaults for you. This view all is just going to let you see all the current categories that we have. But just, we're creating a category. So, and, that'll be helpful. For instance, there's already a green. But I'm not going to use that. I'm going to get rid of that one so I can have this formative assessments be the green color. Okay, so we're going to select save because Everything in Power School, if you're making some type of adjustment or entering some kind of data into Power School, there's always going to be a save button. You have to make sure you select save in order to save your progress. Okay, so now I see the formative assessments are category is here. Okay, um, and I can also see it's only 2 classes versus all of the classes, right? Okay, so that's creating a new category. Now we'll just go into how to manage the categories. There are a number of categories in this list. Um, and I have show inactive here, and some of those categories are inactive. If I unselect this, the inactive categories are going to go away. Okay, so just going here, you may ask yourself, have the question, well, can I delete some of these categories? Well, um, yes, you can, but there's some parameters. If it's a district category, no, you cannot delete it, but you can inactivate it, right? So um, if I select inactive, it's not going to show up in my list of categories. Okay. Um, If it's not a DC category, can I delete it? Yes. Okay. So for instance, let's delete this classwork and homework because I want them to be separate categories. If I go in here, there's the option to delete, and I select delete and confirm. I get a message that it's unable to delete because it's already being used on an assignment. So if an assignment is in Power School and this category is used, and I've used this category on an assignment, no, I cannot delete it. Okay. It's probably quite tedious, especially as depending on how long you've been here at St. Pius, to go and do every assignment and reassign the category so that you can delete this. So, but it's that's what you would have to do to delete it. You would have to go and remove this category from every assignment, and then um, only then you will be able to delete it. Okay. Now, I know for a fact that this summative assessments, it has no categories that are, I mean, no assignments that are using this category. So if I select delete and confirm delete, it's going to delete that assessment category for me. So inactive is going to be your friend. And so going back to our syllabus, we have these four: um, homework, formative assessments, and participation, summative assessments, and final exam. Okay, so I am going to use the final exam. Also, I'd like to note here, you can change the name of any category that you create as well. So um, just keep that in mind. If you change this name, the category, let's say for instance, I use this classwork and homework category in 22-23 school year, but um, I don't want to create a new one category, so I'm just going to rename this to something else for this year. Well, once you rename it for this year and I go back to 2022, 2023, it's going to rename it for that previous year. So we don't recommend renaming the courses and using them. Just be in the practice of inactivating a category that you don't use in a upcoming year. and that way you can there's consistency within your grade book throughout the years. Okay, so I'm gonna go through. I'm not using this test, so I'm gonna save. I'm not doing any lab tests. Project, no. Inactivated. Writing, inactivate. I will use the homework, classwork participation. No, I don't have that one. So let's inactivate that one. Okay. But final exam, I'm using formative assessments. Well, I just created that one, but it's not quite the name I have here. You want to keep in mind the length of the length of the name of the category. It can cause some issues within, if you're using Canvas, some syncing issues. So just be careful with that and how you use it. So for instance, it's only going to let me put formative assessment and part, right? Because there's a character limit here. So that's going to be the name of my category. If you want, you could shorten some, abbreviate or use the and symbol here. Okay, so this one, inactive, cannot delete it. Okay, so now we have our 3 categories. We just need one more, which if I go to inactive, there's no summative assessments here as a category. So I'm going to create a new one. Okay, summative assessments. Okay, let's see. Blue is already in use, so I'm going to use the red. Okay, it's active. I want to use it for all my classes, and I'm going to do save. Okay, so for this particular class, I only needed these 4 categories, and they have been created. Now we will use these categories to set up the weight in the calculation. That will be discussed in a later video, but this video was to help you manage and create categories. So if you have any questions, you can always email me